Am I the a-hole for telling my dad it hurt my feelings that he's a better dad now that he's a stepdad and wouldn't do it for me? My parents got divorced when I, 17M, was 7. My dad was never the best dad or the worst dad. He wasn't a monster or neglectful, but he never made time for me. When he wasn't working, he'd be doing chores and stuff at home, and he mostly left me to do whatever I wanted. If I asked him to hang out with me, he'd say later, and later never came, or he was too busy and maybe another time, but the other time never came. He'd encourage me to do as many extracurriculars as I wanted, and he hired a babysitter to take me to and from those after school. He went to parents' conferences with my mom, but I don't remember him being at very many school plays or sports games. The few times he showed up, he'd be gone before it was over and wouldn't mention it, and sometimes he'd be so distracted he'd ignore questions I asked. It always made me sad, and I asked him to spend time together pretty often. When I found out he was dating someone, it was a surprise, but then it hurt me again because I found out he was spending time with her and her kids and bonding with them. He did eventually include me into that for a few months before they moved in together, but I was pretty devastated. NGL. I saw him be such a different person, and since they got married, he's become a way better dad. But it started with them, and it hurts and makes me angry too. I don't want them to have better than me. I hate that they get better from my own dad than I did until they came along. He's taken more of an interest in me, but I pulled away and I reject a lot of his attempts. He takes us all out to do stuff, and when I see how much time he spent with them and the bond he built with them, it makes me want to tell them all to go F off. His wife has called me out for not being warmer to her kids and trying to get to know them like they've tried to get to know me. My dad has set up a rotation for different things with different kids, and I'm included in it, but it doesn't feel like enough when I have to watch him include them when they got this stuff before me. He sat me down a few weeks ago and told me he felt like I was unhappy and he wanted us to talk. He said his wife told him that when I'm here, I don't interact with her or the kids, and I come across as being angry at her kids, and a few times I walked away, but it looked like I was going to be mean. He asked me what was up, and I told him exactly how I felt. I told him it hurts me to see him be this great dad because he met them and became a stepdad, but he wouldn't do it for me. I told him it made me mad. I told him where was that dad for me? And why did he give them the dad he is now first? Why them? Why not his own kid? I told him they're not his real kids. They're not the kid who wanted so badly for him to spend time with him. I am. I told him I deserved it, not them. They were just his wife's kids. I pointed out how often I tried to spend time with him before he met her and how he'd brush me off, or how little he showed up and took an interest. I asked him how I was meant to be happy he was trying now when they got it first, when they started it, not me. I told him I couldn't be glad for them. He told me he was sorry and he started to get upset, and he said he didn't really reflect like he should have on his failings, and that he said he heard everything I said and he was so sorry he wasn't better and all this stuff. He told me he wanted the chance to make it up to me, but he couldn't just ignore them now either. And to do better for real, he needed to give me 1:1 time, but he also needed to still keep spending time with them. He asked me if I was okay with it. I said no. I told him I wanted him to ignore them and only care about me, but I know that's not fair. It just doesn't seem fair that they got this better version first. I told him it kills me to see it. We talked some more, and we agreed it would be better if I live with mom, and he takes time with me, and he's doing that. But after Christmas, his wife reached out, and she told me she heard everything I said and how unfair it was to punish her kids with what I said when they're not responsible. She said I made my dad feel so guilty too, and how that wasn't fair when I should just enjoy the fact he's doing better. Am I the a-hole?